the 326th time. In just 3 days, I've drooled 326 times looking at Oliver's fair neck. It smells so good. It smells so good that my whole vampire mind is in a daze and my whole body is trembling. I've ground my sharp little tiger teeth over and over again. They're almost worn down, but I still haven't taken a single sip. Only when he's asleep do I dare to secretly climb into his bed and take a few shallow sips. But it's still daytime now, so I can only endure it. Maybe my slurping sound was too loud. Finally, Oliver couldn't help but look up at me and said, "James, are you hungry?" My face flushed instantly and I stammered, "And no, I'm not hungry. I just have a bit of a toothache." I'm so eager for his blood that it hurts. "Do you want me to go to the school infirmary to buy some medicine for you?" No. I'll be fine after taking a nap. I'll be fine after taking a nap. After saying that, I quickly retracted my head behind the curtain and he didn't say anything more. With the curtain as a cover, I finally dared to show my fangs and the saliva finally stopped secreting. As early as 500 years ago, all races had achieved coexistence with humans. Whether they are pig demons, fox spirits, vampires, or humans, they all enjoy equal rights and coexist in this world. But there are always individual races that still fear their mortal enemies. For example, lions and hyenas, hippos and crocodiles, vampires and werewolves. So I've always dared not show my true face for fear that one day I might accidentally offend a werewolf and get torn to pieces. Because I'm a defective vampire. Not only do I faint at the sight of blood, but I also go into a rampage state on every full moon and attack without discrimination. Although my lethality is almost zero, the elder said that this is even more of a disgrace to the vampire family. Only by taking the secret medicine he brewed on time can I suppress it temporarily. It won't be completely cured until the fated person appears and we mark each other. It wasn't until 3 days ago that Oliver was knocked down and injured while playing ball. Looking at the bright red blood flowing from him, I was immediately stimulated and my eyes turned red. My whole body was shouting, "Suck him dry, suck him dry." Strangely enough, this time I not only didn't faint but also wanted to suck. Later, I discovered the specialness of Oliver. His blood is not only fatally attractive to me, but also can relieve my out-of-control state. Moreover, I only have a blood-thirst impulse for him. But I still dare not suck his blood. Because once I violate the coexistence regulations, I will be executed by the tribunal. So, now I can only look on longingly. Alas! If only Oliver would voluntarily let me suck a couple of mouthfuls. After a long wait, night finally came. My roommates were all sound asleep. I timidly climbed onto Oliver's bed and excitedly looked at my prey. In the bright white moonlight, Oliver's neck was even more translucent and fair, with the blue veins clearly visible. Slurp! I was so greedy that my mouth watered and my appetite was instantly whetted. I wanted to suck and bite. In the first 3 days, I was afraid of being discovered by him, so I only dared to take a few gentle sips to satisfy my craving. I didn't even dare to leave a mark. But he is really too tempting tonight. I really can't hold it back. Just one suck, just one. If a mark is left, I'll just blame it on the bugs. After making up my mind, I tiptoed over and lay down beside him. I leaned in close to his neck and stuck out my tongue to give it a lick. This sweet aroma. Just a lick and it smells so good. If I were to take a sip, I'd probably be overwhelmed by the fragrance. The more I thought about it, the more excited I got. The more excited I got, the more vigorously I licked. Before I knew it, my fangs were pressing against his skin. Just as I was about to sink my teeth in forcefully, a hoarse and clear voice suddenly sounded from above my head. "James, what are you doing?" "It's over. It's all over. Now I'm going to be burned to ashes by the tribunal." I quickly retracted my fangs with a swish, but forgot that my lips were still on Oliver's skin. I ended up sucking on it hard. The hissing sound was especially clear in the silent air. I looked up tremulously and met Oliver's unfathomable gaze. He reached out and gently tilted my chin up. His voice was slightly hoarse. "I'm asking you. Why aren't you saying anything?" I was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, but I didn't know how to explain. In my panic, his warm fingertips covered my lips and slowly pressed in. I gasped in surprise and quickly pulled his hand away. "How can you touch my fangs?" "Not allowed." "Of course not. The clan leader said that such private things can only be touched by one's destined partner." His gaze fell on his glistening fingers and then returned to me. He raised his eyebrows slightly. "You can kiss my neck, but I can't touch your fangs?" It seems to make a bit of sense. The neck seems to be quite private too. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he slowly moved closer to me. "James, do you like me?" I suddenly widened my eyes. "I like you." Oliver curled his lips and smiled happily. "Yes, you like me. I know. No, bro, mine was a question. Before I could say anything, he continued on his own. Lately you've always been stealing glances at me. You follow me everywhere I go. Last night when I was taking a shower, you were peeping through the crack in the door. And every night you climb into my bed to steal kisses from me. I did do all these things, but it was all because I couldn't resist the strange fragrance of his blood. Moreover, why does it seem like there's a different meaning when he says it? What else could this be if it's not love? Of course it's not. I retorted without thinking. I'm a very principled vampire. Food and lovers must never be mixed. Although he suits my taste in every aspect, his face, his figure, and that. I've truly been smitten with him. But my destined lover can only be the one fated for me. It's absolutely impossible for it to be him. Under his gloomy mood, I had a sudden inspiration. Remembering a novel I read before, I summoned up my courage and told a lie. I'm just sick. You know about skin hunger syndrome, right? Oliver stared at me intently, his eyes full of scrutiny. After a moment of silence, he lowered his eyes and heaved a heavy sigh. I know. I quickly chimed in. Yes, yes. So all the things I did to you are because I'm sick. It's definitely not because I like you. As I spoke, I observed him carefully, afraid of missing any important reaction. So what are you going to do? He slightly lifted his eyelids and hooked the corner of his lips with a smile. Skin hunger syndrome is just a minor psychological disorder. There's no need to worry. If I'm not mistaken, you only have a reaction to me, right? Just wanting to suck his blood and only having a reaction to him seemed to be no different. I nodded shyly. The next second I heard him say, "Don't be afraid. I'll help you." I opened my eyes wide in surprise and excitedly grabbed his hand. Really? Are you willing to let me suck? No, let me kiss. No, it's not kissing either. After stammering for a long time without being able to say a complete sentence, Oliver reached out his palm and covered my mouth. His eyebrows and eyes were relaxed and he seemed to be in a good mood. You can do whatever you want of me, whether it's hugging, kissing, or biting. I'm so touched. It's rare to find such an active food. With tears in my eyes, I gave him a good person card. Oliver, you're so kind. Oliver stroked my head, his voice cheerful. You're welcome. I just have a little illness too, and I need your help. It's my duty. Please tell me. Good brothers should help each other. Since he's so generous, I can't be too stingy. I have to bring honor to my family. I've been having sleepwalking episodes recently. I wander around at night. The doctor said I need to sleep with someone so they can observe my behavior and prescribe the right treatment. But I remember he sleeps quite quietly. Perhaps it's in my nature. The later at night it gets, the more energetic I become. I usually don't fall asleep until 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So I know the sleeping patterns of each roommate very well. I even made a data table to record them during my leisure time. But when he said this, he seemed really troubled and there was even a hint of annoyance in his eyes. After thinking for a while, I came up with a better suggestion. You can install a surveillance camera. Wouldn't that be a more comprehensive way to observe? Oliver pursed his lips, looking a bit embarrassed. After all, the dormitory is a public space. Installing a camera would violate everyone's privacy. Right? I almost forgot. The other 2 roommates don't like to wear clothes when they sleep. It's really not appropriate. But if we sleep together, what if he finds out that I'm a vampire? I still need to spend a long time doing dental beauty for my teeth at night. Seeing that I was a bit hesitant, his expression became a little disappointed. It's okay. If you don't want to, that's fine. I looked at him, wanting to say something but stopping myself. If I don't agree, will you not let me hug you and, No, I've promised you. How could I go back on my word? All right. I judged a gentleman's heart with a villain's mind. I said with a big smile, then I also promise you. I'm willing to sleep with you. As soon as these words were out, Oliver's dark eyes became even deeper. Somehow I felt a hint of danger. But when I looked again, it seemed to be just my illusion. He curved his lips and gently patted the pillow. Let's start tonight then. I held my breath, and a fire seemed to ignite in my body. Isn't it a bit too soon? It's okay. It's just a simple sleep. After saying that, he suddenly leaned closer to me, his eyes pitch black. Or do you want to do something else? Looking at his gently rolling Adam's apple, I blurted out subconsciously, "Can I take a bite?" My eyes were full of pleading and expectation. I looked at him carefully, and saliva kept secreting. Oliver seemed to smile. "Where do you want to bite?" The words Adam's apple were about to come out of my mouth. But at the last moment, I still overcame my inner desire and whispered, "Just a finger will do." Although I'm a bit stupid, after getting along with humans for so long, I also know that a man's Adam's apple can't be touched casually, let alone biting it. Oliver seemed a bit disappointed, but still stretched out a finger and held it to my mouth. I swallowed my saliva and quickly opened my mouth to bite, slowly piercing the tip of my tooth into his fingertip. Like a traveler dying of thirst in the desert, I greedily sucked. His blood was even sweeter and more tempting than I imagined, almost making me have the devilish impulse to suck him dry. Fortunately, in the end, I still overcame my blood thirst. I let go of my mouth after sucking for a few minutes. I even claimed it was to disinfect him and licked away the last tiny blood bead with my tongue. Oliver, thank you. You're the kindest person I've ever met. You're welcome. Come to me whenever you want to suck blood in the future. I nodded excitedly and thoughtfully covered the quilt for him. Okay, let's go to sleep quickly. Although I had already prepared myself mentally, I was still scared by Oliver's sleepwalking disorder. At 3 o'clock in the morning, seeing that he was already sound asleep, I couldn't wait to let my fangs out and prepare to do some teeth whitening. But unexpectedly, while I was whitening my teeth, he suddenly sat up and stared straight at me. His eyes were still glowing red, like burning flames. It was exactly the same as the werewolves I feared the most. I was so scared that I held my breath and pressed myself tightly against the cold wall, not daring to move. At this moment, I even thought about what color coffin I would choose. But the next second, I heard him say, "You smell so good. I really want to take a bite out of you." I was instantly shocked. A werewolf actually wants to eat a vampire. I was so scared that I let out a wow and cried, I don't taste good. I don't like to wash my feet or take a bath, and I don't even use shower gel when I take a bath. Before I could finish speaking, my mouth was forcefully covered by him. I closed my eyes weakly and waited for my death. After the despair, there was endless regret. If I had known I would be bitten to death by him, I should have had a good drink a few days ago and be a well-fed ghost. In the midst of my remorse, a sudden warm sensation came from my eyelids. I opened my eyes tremblingly and saw Oliver retract his crimson tongue into his mouth. "Sissy, why are you crying?" After saying that, he hugged me tightly into his arms and lay down, saying, "Be good. I'll be gentler next time. Don't cry." It wasn't until his even breathing sound came that my stagnant brain started to work again. I summoned up my courage and took out the werewolf, detecting artifact that the elder had given me at great expense. After 2 hours of precise detection, I buttoned up his last pajama button. He's not a werewolf. He's just a sleepwalker who likes to bite people's mouths. It's okay. After repeated self-consolation, I finally fell asleep peacefully. When I woke up the next day, Oliver was no longer in bed. Only then did I remember that in my daze this morning, he seemed to have leaned over and whispered in my ear that he was going to buy breakfast for me. Thinking of this, I felt ashamed again for suspecting him of being a werewolf. I slowly got out of bed and was about to go into the bathroom to wash up when my roommate suddenly said, "James, why did you get out of Oliver's bed?" Just as the words left his mouth, the dormitory door suddenly opened, and Oliver and I locked eyes. The roommate glanced at him and then shifted his gaze back to me. "Also, why is there such a big scab on your mouth?" I was so scared that I quickly covered it with my hand, looking extremely panicked. Oliver remained calm, walked up in front of me calmly to block me and said, "I accidentally spilled water on his bed last night, so he had to make do with mine for one night. As for his mouth, it should be because I was a bit restless in my sleep and bumped into him." "Okay. Then remember to disinfect," James wound. Seeing that the roommate didn't ask any more questions, I quickly rushed into the bathroom. Looking at the slightly purple tooth marks in the mirror, my face burned with embarrassment. It wasn't just a bit restless. It was extremely restless. He bit and licked, and even said things that made my heart race and my face flush. In the following days, the relationship between Oliver and me quickly warmed up. We went to class together, went to the library and the cafeteria together. When we were free, he would even teach me how to play basketball. When I had an itchy tooth, I would ask him for a bit of blood. At night, when sleeping, I would act as a supervisor to observe his sleepwalking situation. After a month, we became the best of friends. But I found that just biting my fingers could no longer satisfy the longing in my heart. My gaze gradually shifted back to his neck, Adam's apple. Even his lips and tongue began to have a fatal attraction to me. His sleepwalking disorder was getting worse and worse. From just hugging at first, he gradually got bolder and touched my chest and lower abdomen, but I didn't dare to wake him up at all. Because once I couldn't help but wake him up, he actually jumped out of the window. Fortunately, we lived on the second floor, so nothing serious happened. Since then, no matter how uncomfortable I was, I only dared to bite the pillow and endure it hard. Because if he were to die, I wouldn't even have the chance to bite my fingers. This was the first time I tasted blood. I'm reluctant to let it go. Of course, he's not such an ungrateful person. Although he's unconscious when sleepwalking and doesn't know what he's doing. But seeing the increasing marks on my body, he still apologized to me. Not only did he indulge me to bite his shoulder, but he also covered my living expenses for this semester. It's the weekend today, and he took me to eat the blood and tripe hot pot, which is the soulmate food for vampires. It smells so good that I'm in a daze. Just as I was enjoying my meal, Oliver suddenly called my name. I licked my lips, which were a bit swollen and stinging from the spiciness. When I looked up, I met his intense gaze. For some reason, a sudden heat rose within me. He suddenly let out a very soft and low laugh and handed me a tissue. "You've got some chili on your mouth." I blushed immediately and took it in a flurry, lowering my head and wiping hard. So embarrassing. At my age, I still get food on the corner of my mouth. He must think I'm a fool. Just as I was feeling annoyed, his concerned voice suddenly rang in my ear. "Let me do it. You didn't wipe it clean." I looked up blankly. I watched helplessly as those well-defined hands slowly moved in front of my eyes until they covered my lips. The slightly cool fingertips moved back and forth on my lips little by little, and my heart started pounding like a drum. My gaze fell on his dark eyes, and my fangs couldn't help but want to break through my lips. I wanted to bite through his blood vessel, suck up his blood, and then hide him away. Suddenly, a rush of phone ringing interrupted my gradually perverse thoughts. I suddenly stood up, tightly clutching my phone, and fled in a hurry with a hasty, "I'll take a call." Just as the door of the private room was about to close, I saw through the crack that Oliver lowered his head and took the finger that had wiped the corner of my mouth into his mouth. My mind went blank instantly. The next moment, he suddenly looked up and our eyes met. There seemed to be two burning flames in his bottomless eyes. My legs went weak and I almost fell to the ground. After rushing into the bathroom and calming down for a long time, I called the elder back. The call was immediately answered and the elder's excited voice instantly filled the air. "James, your fated partner has appeared again." My mind went completely blank and I even had a brief bout of tinnitus. After a long silence, I asked hoarsely, "Is it a human or a vampire?" "It's neither a vampire nor a human. It's a werewolf." A familiar answer that instantly made my anger flare up. "Do you think you've lived too long and you won't be satisfied until you're burned to ashes? Old man, if you're so eager to die, just find a deserted place by yourself and don't drag me down. I'll never be with a werewolf even if I die." I stamped my feet in anger and ranted. After a long while, his sinister voice came from the other end. "Can you blame me for this? Who asked you to be a defective vampire? Others are all lovey-dovey with their fated partners at the age of 200, but you're still a virgin at 500. I was momentarily speechless and directly hung up the phone and blocked him. Although I was not convinced, I really couldn't refute his words. Vampires generally come of age at 200 years old. On the day of adulthood, the elder will use a magical artifact to detect the identity of the fated partner. The fated partner represents an everlasting true love without exception. But on the day I came of age, the elder detected that my fated partner was a werewolf. How can natural enemies share a bed? Such a result completely enraged the two clans, and they all questioned that the elder was too old and useless. After a fierce battle between the two sides, they smashed his magical artifact to pieces and chased him for a full 300 years. I also developed the problems of fainting at the sight of blood and going on a rampage because I didn't mark my fated partner in time. 300 years later, he started spouting nonsense again. When I adjusted my mood and returned to the private room, Oliver was staring blankly at that finger. Seeing me enter the door, he just glanced at me indifferently and then shifted his gaze. He was angry. This realization made me flustered for a moment, but I didn't have the courage to ask him what was wrong. He didn't say a single word to me until we got back to the dormitory. At night when I was sleeping, he didn't hug me and bury his head in my neck as usual, even close to 5 a.m. But I knew it wasn't because he didn't sleepwalk, but because he suffered from insomnia. After hesitating for a long time, I secretly hooked his finger and asked carefully, "Oliver, did I do something wrong to make you angry?" "No." "Then why are you ignoring me?" There was another long silence, so long that I fell into a drowsy sleep. Before falling into a deep sleep, I seemed to hear him say, "If I weren't a werewolf, would you like me?" Maybe because I heard the word werewolf too many times today, I had a rare nightmare. The memories of the day I came of age kept flashing through my mind, but there were some differences. As soon as the elder said that my fated partner was a werewolf, he was surrounded and beaten up by other vampires. Next, countless werewolves rushed into the castle, and all I could see were terrifying fangs. I hugged my head and shrank into a corner, constantly pleading, "Don't bite me, don't bite me." Suddenly, a gentle voice sounded above my head, "Don't be afraid. I'll protect you." When I looked up, I saw Oliver's face. He was dressed in red, holding my hand, and fought his way through to take me out of the chaotic castle. Deep in the dense forest, under the bright moonlight, he kissed my lips and said, "Sorry to keep you waiting, my fated partner." When I suddenly woke up, it was already the next morning. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was greeted by Oliver's sleeping face up close. My gaze uncontrollably landed on his crimson lips, gradually overlapping and diverging with the scene in my dream. This was the first time I hoped that the dream would come true. Just before he was about to open his eyes, I suddenly got up and rushed into the bathroom. Because of this dream, I was absent-minded even while taking a shower, with the scenes after the kiss constantly on my mind. Even if I'm stupid, I've realized that my brotherly affection for Oliver has changed. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted my train of thought. "James, are you done showering?" I quickly replied, yes, I'll come out right away." The next second, I realized I'd forgotten to get my clothes and towel. If it were before, I might have just walked out naked. But now, I've become a gay who lusts after his roommate. I dare not do that anymore. However, Oliver is the only one left in the dormitory, and I don't seem to have any better options. After hesitating for a moment, I opened the door crack a bit and slowly poked my head out and called, "Oliver." He immediately replied, "Here? Did you forget your clothes?" I replied with an embarrassed After taking the clothes he handed me, I quickly put them on. But as soon as I walked out of the bathroom, I noticed something was off. Why has my underwear become looser? Under my bewildered gaze, Oliver hooked the corner of his lips and smiled gently. "I couldn't find yours, so I brought mine." The blush that I just managed to suppress came back with a vengeance, making me feel like I was about to explode. Stuttering for a long time, I only managed to squeeze out a "thank you" while pinching the edge of my underwear. Some people say that loving someone can't be hidden and one will even become greedy. Moreover, for a vampire like me who has been single for 500 years, it's even more impossible to hide it. But I dare not confess my love. Not to mention that I have a fated partner. Even if I didn't, I still wouldn't have the courage. Because Oliver doesn't like boys. Since the start of school, there have been no less than 100, if not 1,000, people chasing him. Both boys and girls, but he has rejected every single one of them. However, the ways he rejects them are extremely different. When it comes to girls, he is always gentle. He observes the girls' expressions after every word he says and hands them tissues as soon as they cry. But when a boy confesses his love, he will get a hard punch from him, accompanied by a "get out of here." Every time I think about these things, I feel that it's actually a good thing that I'm disabled. Not only will I not be beaten, but I can also take advantage of his kindness to satisfy my dirty thoughts. The only drawback is my increasingly uncontrollable blood lust, and the urge to kiss him. For example, right now, although I'm tightly held in his arms, my eyes keep wandering to his lips. My mind is full of all kinds of crazy thoughts. They're so red and beautiful. Suddenly, his soft laughter comes from above my head. "James, what are you thinking about?" Somehow, thinking about you just slips out of my mouth. The air suddenly falls silent. Seeing him freeze, I clumsily add the words "lips" after that. As soon as I say it, I realize it would have been better not to add them. In his mind, I must have changed from a stupid guy with a strange illness to a lecher with dirty thoughts. Oliver presses his lips tightly together, his eyes fixed on me. The next second, he suddenly flips me over and pins me down, his voice hoarse. "James, you asked for this." I might be falling in love with Oliver. After all, no two good brothers would kiss and stick out their tongues. Right now, there are only two thoughts in my mind. Oliver's lips taste so sweet. I only want Oliver. I'll only suck his blood and only kiss his lips. I excitedly covered my hot face and wriggled like a twisted pretzel on his bed. Just as I was wriggling vigorously, the bathroom door suddenly opened and Oliver walked out shirtless. He was steaming all over, and his pectoral muscles, abs, and V-line were all on full display. I involuntarily swallowed my saliva. Every part of him just perfectly suits my taste. Even the faded anime characters aren't as well suited as him. He hooked the corner of his lips and smiled happily. Looking closely, there was also undisguised satisfaction in his eyes. Obviously, he was also having a great time. I sat up and coyly smiled at him, saying, "Good morning." He raised his eyebrows, walked over, and stroked my head, saying, "You take a shower first. I'll go buy breakfast." I suddenly jumped out of bed, opened the wardrobe in a hurry, and said, "Wait for me. I'll go with you. Don't be in a hurry. You can take a shower first. I'll wait for you." After saying this, his gaze suddenly moved slowly down from my face, and there was a hint of teasing in his tone. After all, toilet paper can't clean it up that thoroughly. I blushed instantly. Oliver is also a rascal on a par with me. Confirmed. Once there's a first time, there will be a second, a third. And the situation is gradually getting out of control. However, I haven't confessed my love to him yet. This way of getting on the bus first and then buying the ticket is still too advanced for me, a vampire. Although I'm not a normal vampire either. But the necessary rituals still need to be carried out. After thinking it over, I stayed up all night to formulate a perfect confession plan. Unfortunately, it died before even the first step began. Oliver actually cheated on me. To be precise, it can't even be considered cheating because I have no official status. He clearly told me in the morning that an elder had come to his home and he had to go home for dinner. I caught him checking into a hotel with a young boy in the afternoon. Seeing the intimate way they were walking arm in arm, I wished I could rush up and tear them apart right away. But I didn't dare, I couldn't beat him. In the end, I could only watch them enter the hotel with hatred in my heart. This two-timing scumbag, I'll never like him again. Oliver didn't return to the dormitory until the third night. I sat on my own bed hugging my legs, staring menacingly at the drunk Oliver. He sat on the chair with his long legs casually crossed, looking at me with a hazy drunken smile and said, "Baby, I feel so uncomfortable. Could you pour me a glass of water?" I sneered and said, "Who's your baby? You can just die of thirst." He seemed hurt by my sharp words. His eyes instantly became full of grievance. "What's wrong with you? Why are you angry?" Hearing his words, I was so angry that I jumped out of bed and kicked him hard a few times. "How dare you say that? You bastard, you lied to my feelings and you're dating two people at the same time. It's already good that I don't bite you to death. You still expect me to be coaxed by you? Dream on." I was so angry that my legs went weak and I accidentally fell onto his lap. Just as I was about to get up, he forcefully grabbed my waist and pulled me forward. Only then did I notice that his previously lazy and hazy eyes had now regained their clarity. I looked at him in disbelief. "You pretended to be drunk?" He half closed his eyes and the faint smell of alcohol blew on my face, explained clearly. "What do you mean by lying to your feelings? And what do you mean by dating two people at the same time?" Hearing his words, I immediately felt wronged. I spilled all the details of what I saw in the afternoon and sternly accused him of his philandering behavior. As I spoke, I observed his expression, trying to find a clue. Although I didn't want to admit it, I still harbored the thought that it might be a misunderstanding at this moment. But after he listened, he didn't show much reaction. Instead, he even took the time to pour me a glass of water. I was completely confused by his absurd action, but I still took a couple of sips from his hand. I was really a bit thirsty after getting so excited while speaking. "I didn't lie to you. He's not some boat. He's my cousin. He had a fight with his family, got drunk, and didn't want to go home, so I took him to a hotel." Oliver replied indifferently and gulped down the remaining water. He was so calm that my previous accusations seemed extremely unreasonable. I blinked nervously, trying to brush it off with a laugh. "I'm just joking. You two clearly don't look like a couple." Just as I finished speaking, I felt a burning heat rising in my body and Oliver's face gradually blurred. "But I took it seriously, James. You don't trust me." Oliver stared straight into my eyes and uttered each word slowly. "But it doesn't matter. I like you. We're destined for each other. No matter what you say or do, I'll support you unconditionally and obey you absolutely." At this moment, I could hardly hear what he was saying. I looked up out of the window. The moon was like a jade plate hanging in the sky. It was the 15th day. Today was the 15th day. He had been gone for 3 days, and I hadn't drunk his blood for a full 3 days. Oh no, I was gonna have an attack. I tried to push him away, but he seemed to think I was angry and held me even tighter. My lips were getting closer and closer to the blue veins, and my fangs involuntarily pressed against his neck. I clearly heard the sound of my fangs piercing the skin. Like a dying traveler in the desert, I sucked and swallowed greedily. The blood flowed into my body along my throat, and the irritable factors were gradually soothed. My vision gradually cleared, but the next second, my gaze met those familiar red eyes. Amidst the spinning world, I was flipped over and pinned down firmly by Oliver. What's so good about werewolf blood? If you want to drink, have something different. Seeing his sharp fangs, I let out a shrill scream in fear. You're a werewolf? Oliver didn't say a word, but I could tell that he was extremely excited. The saliva on his fangs dripped down along the curve onto my chest, gradually soaking the fabric. I was too weak to resist and could only watch helplessly as he lowered his head. But the expected pain didn't come. When our lips met, his fangs retracted on their own. Amidst the violent pounding of my heart, he leaned over and whispered in my ear, "I've kept you waiting, my fated one." The dream merged with reality, and the past memories were like threads, weaving through my mind bit by bit. Turned out that the elder was really right. I hoarsely called his name. "So, are you my boyfriend now? Titles really matter to us vampires." "Yes, your boyfriend." At this moment, I suddenly thought that sharing a bed with an archenemy didn't seem so terrifying after all. While I was extremely happy, I also felt a bit regretful. If only I had known earlier that he was my fated one. "James, are you inviting me?" Suddenly, Oliver spoke up. Following his line of sight, I saw my eager hand. Then I blushed and whispered in his ear, "Didn't you say there's something better to drink than werewolf blood?" When my consciousness was fading, I suspected that my sense of taste was malfunctioning, because the so-called good thing that Oliver mentioned really tasted awful. The first thing I did when I woke up the next day was to brush my teeth. When I came out, a table full of breakfast had already been set on the table. Oliver attentively fed me mouthful by mouthful. His face was full of a look of guilt, because someone was really naughty last night. Very naughty. So I decided to ignore him. I definitely wouldn't say a word to him within half an hour. After I was full, I called the elder and told him that Oliver and I were destined soul mates. From him, I learned more comprehensive information. It turned out that Oliver and I had known each other since we were very young. At that time, the coexistence plan had not been implemented for too long, and the various races needed to interact frequently to promote harmonious relations. Oliver was the youngest son of the Wolf King. Because we were of similar ages, I became his little receptionist. But friendship came and went quickly. Once Oliver and I had a dispute over whether Henry or Benjamin was more handsome. Neither of us could convince the other, and then we started fighting. When we got really into the fight, we bit each other's necks. Since then, we fought every time we met, and each time we almost beat each other to death. In order not to affect the relationship between the two races, the elder gave us a secret medicine to erase our memories of each other. But although the memories were erased, the trajectory of fate could not be changed. Because of biting each other again and again, we had ingested a lot of each other's blood, and our bodies had changed unconsciously. The destiny of being soul mates was also determined imperceptibly. It wasn't until he accidentally got injured that the blood of his that had been buried deep inside me for a long time was activated. The attraction of the fated pair also opened a new chapter. Hearing this, I exchanged a smile with Oliver. I stretched out my leg and pressed it against his abdomen, smiling wickedly. "Is Henry or Benjamin more handsome?" Oliver grabbed my ankle and pulled me hard. "You are the most handsome." When he said this, his eyes were full of undisguised affection. I held his face and gave him a light peck. "You've finally become smart after 500 years. If he had said I was handsome back then, maybe we would have been together long before we reached adulthood. Even without the fated pair, we would still be together because I fell in love with you at first sight. From the moment we first met, you became the only one I wanted to mark. From that moment on, I will do whatever it takes to please you. Protect you until the end of my life." While my heart was pounding violently, my bloodthirsty impulse reached its peak. I ran my tongue over my fangs that were eager to break out, staring straight at him. "Oliver, I want to mark you. Is that okay? You can do whatever you want to me." As soon as he finished speaking, I pounced on him and without hesitation sank my teeth into his neck. My unique blood continuously flowed into his body, invading his territory. At the same time, Oliver's fangs also sank into my neck. The scalding wolf blood flowed along the blood vessels until it reached my heart. Through the touching skin and the exchanged blood, the story of our fated pair began. Never regret, always be loyal.